If there's one thing we can agree on, it's that Asphalt 8 is really pay to win. And it's gotten worse over the years. I mean, back in the old ages, there was only one currency, and that was credits. Then they added tokens, which started ruining the game. And then they started switching credit cars into token cars. And that's when people really started hating them, like a lot. In fact, there were people that made petitions about a year ago to change cars from their token prices back to their credit prices. And while this worked momentarily, Gameloft changed it back again. So today, I decided to start a new account in Asphalt 8 and see, well, how are the prices nowadays? Is there any credit vehicles we can find that are still useful and good? Let's take a look. Starting off with Class D, Class D has had so many changes in terms of car prices, not just from credit prices to token prices, but from token prices to even more expensive token prices. A good example is coming up right here. It is the Renault Desire. Back in the day when I first started playing this game, this car was 180 tokens, now it's 375. That kinda sucks, I'm not gonna lie. This is a great multiplayer car for any beginner, but since its price has more than doubled, it's so much harder to obtain. But Class D also brings a lot of good news. The good news is, the king of Class D, the best car in Class D, the Mazda RX-8, was changed from tokens to credits during this price change period, if you want to call it that, and that's really fortunate, because for 325,000 credits, the Mazda RX-8 is 100% worth it. It's such a great car. This is definitely your go-to credit car for Class D. There's no other car better than it, and its pricing is actually not the worst. I know for beginners, 325,000 credits sounds like a lot, but wait till you see the Class S stuff in this game. That stuff is way overpriced compared to this. But you may be thinking, hey, what about that Buick car that's also in Class D? Because it's more expensive, so it has to be better. And the answer to that is no. The Buick is a horrible Class D vehicle that tricks many people into believing that it is the Class D king when it's not. It's more expensive, as you can see, 425,000 credits, which is 100,000 more than the Mazda. And it's worse than the Mazda in terms of speed, drifting, acceleration, almost everything. So don't get that car, get the Mazda RX-8. Now to Class C. Now Class C is similar to Class D, where there are both positive and negative price switches. Quite a few are negative, but quite a few are positive. For example, there's this multiplayer car right here, Mercedes GLC Coupe, 45,000 credits. That's not expensive, and it's pretty good in multiplayer, so you should buy that. But then there's also those negative price switches like the Lotus Exige S Coupe, which originally was like 30,000 credits, now it's 525 tokens. It is a super good starter Class C car, but because of its price change, no one really gets it anymore. Super unfortunate. And then there's those price changes that should be negative, but I really like them. For example, the Ferrari 612 Scaglietti. This car is horrible in all of its stats. Its speed is bad, drifting is bad, acceleration is bad, nitro efficiency is one of the worst I've ever seen. It used to be, what, like 300,000 credits? Now it's 1,625 tokens. That's good, because no beginners will make the mistake of getting this car anymore, because they don't have the resources available. Now you could argue that this car offers some great stuff in its mastery rewards, but really, it's such a bad car. But for good credit vehicles, there's quite a few in Class C, surprisingly. There's the Felino CB7, pretty great car. There's the Lamborghini Miura, also very good, even better than the Felino. There's the Mitsubishi Eclipse, which used to be one of the kings of Class C. And then finally, there's the Mercedes-Benz AMG Racing Series. This car is the bomb. It's so great in everything. Only issue is that its drifting is kind of bad and it's an elite car, but everything else is just so great about this car. Absolutely worth 495,000 credits, even though before it used to be 300,000 credits or so. I mean, the price rose by a good 200,000 credits, but it's still really worth it. For Class B, immediately we have a car that's worth buying that's credits. It's the DS Servolt. Even though it used to be 8,500 credits and now it's 45,000 credits, with a possible token option of 250 tokens, this car features fantastic acceleration, very good nitro efficiency, mediocre drifting and handling, and a meh top speed. And that doesn't sound too great, but considering this is a starter Class B car, you could do a lot worse. However, if you are one of those super rich people that can afford something way more expensive, then try the TVR Aris. This car can go at a very fast speed of 277 miles an hour at a rank of 1390. Now, if you don't want this to be a multiplayer car, you can also max it out. When you max it out, it goes at a pretty fast speed, and it's one of the best Class B cars for events. So how great is that? You can either make it a multiplayer car, or if you get bored of its multiplayer-ness, then you can max pro it to a pretty useful car in events. And now to Class A. Class A definitely got really affected by its price changes. For example, our all-time favorites like the Lamborghini Sesto Elemento and the McLaren P1 were switched from credits to tokens. That sucks. The good thing is the Ferrari LaFerrari was not changed to a token price only, it also has a credit option. And although the LaFerrari is not better than the McLaren P1, it's still a really solid car for starting Class A. And I mean 235,000 credits, not too bad. The car features pretty darn good acceleration, good top speed, good nitro efficiency, and good handling and drifting. It's one of those pretty much perfect cars. The thing is, its overall stats are not high enough to compete with the kings, the real kings of Class A, that can go almost 30 miles an hour faster than this car. So unfortunately, not a king, but really good for starting Class A. But what's the best Class A car you can get for credits? Unfortunately, you don't have that many options. The best one I have to say is the Mosler GT3. For nearly 1 million credits, you get a car that's decent in acceleration, pretty decent with top speed, and good at drifting and handling. It also sounds pretty perfect like the LaFerrari, but the thing is, it's still not that fast. It's not that fast compared to those Class A kings. But honestly, this is the best credit Class A vehicle you can get, or you can get the Jaguar XJ220S thingy. Although this car, it's elite, so you can only use it a couple of times before it runs out, and you have to refresh it by spending money on it. So up to you between this car and the Jaguar. Yep, those are your choices for Class A. And finally, onto Class S. Now, Class S also got a lot of price changes. Most of them were really bad. For example, one of our favorite Class S cars, the Lykan Hypersport, is great for farming, and it's great for just everything in general. It's a really solid starter car. It went from 550,000 credits to 3,500 credits. I really hate the game for doing this, but what is the best starter car for Class S now that so many cars have changed into tokens? My honest answer, the Mercedes-Benz Silver Lightning. Now, this car has its flaws. It's not perfect, but I mean, really, we're running out of options here. It's either this, the Bugatti, which is a really bad car, or the Koenigsegg, which is also kind of disappointing. And out of those, the Silver Lightning wins. Now, the acceleration of this car is actually pretty bad in the beginning unless you upgrade it. The total speed at max prod is a little above 280 miles an hour. Doesn't sound like a lot, and it really isn't, but pretty good for a starting Class S car. Its handling and drifting, though, are really supreme. They're pretty awesome. Nitro efficiency, it's okay, but overall, this is your best bet for the best Class S starter car. But if you want expensive, you got 3 options. The first one, Tron Nemesis. This used to be the old Class S king. It is no longer the king of Class S, but still a pretty solid car. The issue is 3.275 million credits. That will cost you a lot. Second option is the Mosler Landshark, 2.25 million credits. Still a lot, but honestly, almost the same performance as the Tryon. The main difference between the Mosler and the Tryon is the Mosler is an elite car, unfortunately. That means you can only use it 3 or 4 times, then you have to pay some credit amount in order to refresh the timing, and you have to wait for 3 hours before you can use it again. That sounds like a huge hassle, and it is, but the thing is, the Mosler Landshark performs better than the Tryon by a little bit. And it's cheaper in terms of its overall price, so honestly up to you for those 2 choices. Let's look at our final choice, which is absurd in every way. At our final spot, we have the Devel 16 prototype for 5 million credits. That doesn't sound really worth it, does it? Well, let's look at the stats. So, the acceleration is bad, the drifting and handling is pretty awful too. This car feels very heavy on the road. It looks heavy actually by itself, just sitting there in the garage. It's really hard to drift and handle this car. The nitro efficiency is actually pretty good, and the total speed is excellent. It goes 324 miles an hour at max prod. It's pretty good. So this car does really well on Tokyo maps, because due to the straight stretches, the car can go at its 324 miles an hour without much difficulty. Well, until you reach the corners, but Tokyo doesn't have that many corners. However, on other maps, this car is not the king of Class S, because any corner requires so much work just to get through it with this car. Now, here's some food for thought. This car costs 5 million credits. What if you save that money instead? What if you save the 5 million credits for future events that could have even better cars and wouldn't cost 5 million credits? For example, the Mazda RX-8 Special Edition event is out right now. That is the king of Class B, and you will not need to spend that much money on that one car. Just give that a shot instead, because there's so many new cars coming out all the time, new kings coming out all the time. Is it really worth it to use your credits and buy these cars? Or could you save them up and whenever a new king comes around, work on that event and try to win it? Overall, the decision is up to you, but in my opinion, some of these cars in this list you should buy, like the Mazda RX-8. But other cars like the Devel 16 is not worth your 5 million credits. Save up that money and spend it on other events to win even better cars. And with that final statement, thank you guys so much for listening to this video. I hope you at least somewhat enjoyed. If you did, feel free to hit that like button. Can we get 250 likes? I hope so. If you didn't like this video, still hit the like button, because why not? And if you have some interest in this channel, subscribe. This is the Cheese God Army, that's what I call my fans. It's kind of cringy and everything, but you should still subscribe. I mean, look at this teenager right here. He looks kind of sad, right? Kind of depressed. But if you subscribe, he will smile. So make sure to do that. Check out my YouTube Instagram also, at the official Axis. We have passed 730 followers, that's really great. And remember, our goal is to pass 900. So check that out too. Link in description if you have any interest in that. Wow, that was a lot of self-advertising. Thanks for listening, guys. Hope to see you later. Bye-bye.